Oh boy, what's going on? We gathered our belongings and traveled hastily over towards the camp in Itabashi. To avoid detention from Imperial soldiers and Furies, we trekked through a heavily wooded trail. And by the time we had come into view of the encampment, we realized we had been expected.
てっきり近藤を奪い返しに来るのは新選組の連中だと思っていたが、お前たちが来たのか、坂本、そして雪村の娘。
助けに来たわけはないき。こいつは近藤に一目合わせてやりとうでよ。
すっかりその小娘に骨抜きにされたか。相変わらず甘い男だ。徳川家への復讐も土佐勤王党の志も貴様にとってはもはやどうでもいいことのようだな。
Damn it, Dan.
俺はそもそも徳川家に復讐したいわけやないて前に言わんかったっけか。慶喜さんはとっくに謹慎しちょって、今後新政府軍に逆らうつもりらないって言うたやか。
徳川家そのものだけではなく、今後の争いの火種を残すことがまずいのだ。今後日本を西洋の国々と肩を並べる強国とするためには悪しき目を摘んでおかねばならん。
俺らが将来その悪しき目になるかもしれんくてもかい。
もう後戻りなどできんのだ。
Nakoka put his two index fingers into his mouth and let out a howling whistle. That was not a whistle, that was a snap. In response, the piercing flash of red eyes dotted the darkness surrounding us. Suddenly, a slew of Furies appeared, all of whom were clad in imperial uniforms with pointed hats.
Sakamoto, この者たちの顔に見覚えはないか。
何？
Ryoma stared dubiously at the encircling Furies, who began closing in. I held my breath in fear, trying my best not to panic in front of them. Eventually, Ryoma's eyes widened in shock. He let out a nervous gulp before speaking.
中岡恩赦。まさか。
そう。彼らは我々と同じ土佐の豪士だった者たちだ。
Country samurai, lowest strata of samurai class in the Tosa domain, it points to the descendants of the Chosakabe clan before the Yamauchi clan governed.
同じ豪士に落ち水を飲ませたがか。どういてそんな真似を。
決まっている。上司どもへの復讐のためだ。
High-ranking retainer. An eminent servant whose military prowess granted him feudal land holdings. The Yamauchi family of the Tosa domain is an example of a lineage that benefited from militaristic nepotism and loyalty.
落ち水によって得た力を使い、徳川家を滅ぼした後は、幕府にこびるため、竹地先生を死に追いやり、俺たち豪士を虐げてきた上司どもを一人残らず切り殺す。
Zuizan Takuchi. I keep wanting to say Takuchi, but it's not. Zuizan Takechi, a Tosa warrior who acts as the leader of the Tosa Loyalist Party. He was imprisoned on the orders of Yodo Yamauchi and eventually committed suicide.
おまん言うやつは。
坂本、お前はその銃で同郷の仲間を殺せるのか。 無理だろうな。お前にできるのは所詮甘ったるい夢を語ることだけだ。だが俺は違うぞ。新たな日本を作るため邪魔になるものは全てこの手で殺してみせる。羅刹ども、その二人を殺してしまえ。好きなだけ血をすすって構わんぞ。
The Fury's eyes twinkled in response to Nakaoka's command.
悪いにゃ、千鶴。約束を守ってやれんこと。これ以上の長いは無用やき。さっさと逃げるぜよ。
Ryoma and I attempted to sprint out of sight, but
バカめ、逃がすと思っているのか。
Ryoma aimed the barrel of his pistol directly at Nakaoka and pulled the trigger without hesitation. But
羅刹に銃など効かぬと以前言ったはずだが。
Nakaoka scoffed as he evaded the bullet's path easily. As if matters couldn't be worse.
血をよこせ。血を。
Once more, the Furies were closing in.
くそ。
Ryoma unloaded his pistol upon the bloodthirsty Furies, but they showed no signs of halting.
すべて急所を外しているのに仲間を殺すことはできんということか。相変わらず甘い。だが俺は違うぞ。徳川家を滅ぼし上司どもを殺し尽くすためならばどんな大罪でも背負ってみせる。
Nakaoka slashed at Ryoma, but Ryoma nimbly dodged each strike while continuing to fire his pistol.
そんなものは効かんと言っているのがわからんのか。
There was finesse in each of Nakaoka's movements, limiting any chance for Ryoma to counter. But that wasn't it. As Ryoma wrapped his fingers around the trigger, he furrowed his brows, stopping himself in his tracks, for reasons I couldn't immediately explain.
玉切れか。あっけない最後だ。坂本。かつての同志の情け。苦しませずにあの世へ送ってやるぞ。
With a devilish grin on his face, Nakaoka raised his blade high into the air and swung downwards. Oh no! At this rate! Out of reflex, I leapt forward, trying to save Ryoma from suffering an agonizing death. And then... Nakaoka's blade had carved a gruesome gash into my back.
千鶴！おまん、どういてこんな真似を。
I'm fine. I became lightheaded, bracing myself to lose consciousness at any moment from the intense pain. Even so, I felt a bit of relief knowing that Ryoma's life had been spared. I narrowed my eyes, trying to make out the features in Ryoma's face before fading altogether. He winced as he held me in his arms, letting my blood soak into his clothing.
まずい。薬を飲んでいない状況で血の匂いを嗅いでしまうと。
Even in my state, I could tell something was off. Nakaoka's body language had changed.
血をよこせ。この俺にもっと多くの血を。
His eyes became glossy, devoid of sanity as he lunged forward.
千鶴、 こっちせよ。
My vision blurred as Ryoma threw my arm over his shoulder, and my feet dragged as we scampered away. The fears tried to get in our way, but
邪魔せよ、おんしゃら。
like a stray cannonball, Ryoma crashed into them, shoving them off of us as we gained distance. Blood gushed from the deep wound in my back, and my eyes were as heavy as anvils. Soon I lost consciousness. From what I heard later, May 17, 1868, Kondo-san was sentenced to decapitation at the Itabashi execution grounds. Despite leading the Shinsengumi with dignity and poise, he was stripped of his honor and executed like a thug in humiliating fashion. June 1868. Edo Castle had given its official surrender to the Imperial Army, and soon the city was swarmed with soldiers clad in Western-style uniforms. Why am I getting a text? All soldiers and retainers still loyal to the shogunate. Really? Yeah, right now? All soldiers and retainers still loyal to the shogunate were off heading north, fleeing for a better position. Even if Edo fell under the reign of the Empire of Japan, there was still plenty of war left to fight, and plenty of bodies left to fight it. Ow! Day by day, the huge laceration on my back was improving, but its inconvenient location made applying medicine somewhat miserable to do by myself. Ryoma had been kind-hearted enough to offer to put medication cream upon it. His head would pop in, and he'd shyly ask, "You sure you don't need help with that?" Since that location was a tad more intimate than, say, my arms or legs, asking him felt quite strange. From what I recall, he was currently somewhere near Itabashi to see how things played out, but I wonder if Hakuoki and the rest of the fears were still there, waiting for him to rear his head. I heard the front door open, and then...
Yo, Chizuru. 遅うなって悪かったにゃ。あらへっちゅう思うて、屋台で天ぷらを買うてきたぜよ。好きやろ。
Thank you. Huh? What's the matter? Why are you staring? I gasped, realizing why Ryoma was stone silent. Oh no. He entered in the room while I was half naked in the middle of changing my bandages. Ah! Get out of here!
すまん、わざとやないき。
That doesn't matter! Get out! Get out! Get out!
わかった。出ていくき。
With that, Ryoma hurriedly left my side, sniveling in the other room while I sheepishly finished changing my bandages. I'm pretty sure I picked the mug, but I hope that came out clearly and good.
悪かったにゃ。俺としたことが声もかけんと参るらで。
It's fine.
うん。けんど惜しかったにゃ。どうせやったら怪我しちゅう時やのうて元気な時に見たかったがやけんど。
Ryoma. Jesus. What are you suggesting? Forget that happened. I blushed, frantically turning away from Ryoma as he grinned with excitement. Of course he would. But eventually,
けど元気になってくれてホッとしたぜよ。おまんが俺をかぼうて中岡の刀を受けた時は心臓が止まるか思うだけ。
oh, the trauma of receiving that wound was ignited. In the moment, I was controlled by an instinct to save Ryoma. I'm sorry for worrying you so much.
いや、気にしなや。多分俺もおまんに随分心配かけちゅうはずやき。
A faint twinkle glimmered in Ryoma's eyes, and he reached to rest his hand atop my head. His white, coarse palm calmly patted my scalp, and I felt my heart pound inside of my chest with increasing vigor.
千鶴、どういたかな。ぼーっとして。
Oh, nothing. Actually, I remembered what I'd wanted to ask. Have you learned of Nakuoka's whereabouts?
それがさっぱり長よ。新政府軍の中に羅刹が紛れちゃせんか。今知らぬいに調べてもらいゆうがやけど。
I see.
まさか中岡があんなに早う血に狂うてしまうとは思わなかった。
Yeah, just a little bit. The image of Nakuoka's shifty, erratic eyes sent a chill down my spine. He drank the water of life around the same time as you, didn't he? It begs the question of why he would have gotten so riled up from his bloodlust.
あいつは俺よりも多くの人間の血を飲んできたってことやないのか。
I fell silent, struggling to find anything meaningful to say in response to Ryoma's supposition. If that were the case, then I'm sorry. An apology was all I could muster.
どういたいきなり。おまんに詫びられる覚えはないけどな。
Well, I am. The person responsible for inflicting this condition upon you and Hakuoka is my father.
まあ、そんなこと気にしちゃったがか。前にも言うだろう。今は親の罪を子が背負うらぬ時代やないき。
Ryoma is here telling the truth. Yet it still happens in modern day, and nothing is gonna stop it.
おまんには何の罪もないぜ。
There was no doubt in my mind that Ryoma's sentiment was genuine, but there was much for which I had to atone. There was much for which I had to atone, knowing that my father was the mastermind.
ほら、その湿った顔やめや。せっかく二人きり長やし、もっと楽しい話をしよう
But
や。でもやないき。悲しい顔も色気があってそそるけど、おまんにはまだ早い。
snapping out of it was easier said than done, but I welcomed having Ryoma around to talk me out of my bouts of anxiety. So then... So then, what did you want to discuss?
そうやな。お互いの好きなところを一つずつ言い合うていくがはどうだよ。
What? Why?
まずは俺からやね。おまんの好きなところは素直で考えちゅうことが顔に出やすいところだね。ほら、次はおまんぜよ。
I'm not good on the spot.
まさか好きなところらないちゅうがやないろにゃ。一つぐらいはあるろ。
Now he's the one being pouty. As Ryoma described things that he liked about me, I felt sheepish, my cheeks blushing intensely. Don't worry, the yawns will go away, I swear. Having to do the same in front of him was nerve-wracking, and I shook as the words came out. Well, you're so cunning, and you're good on your feet, I guess.
なるほど。おまんは俺のそういうところに惚れちゅう。
What do you mean, love? I was only saying what came to mind.
ほんなら次は俺やにゃ。他に好きなところは抱きしめたらええ匂いがするところやろうか。
Like I said.
よ、お二人さん。
You picked the worst times to come in. You know that?
昼間っからイチャついてるところ悪いが、そろそろ俺に気づいてくれねえか。
As I rushed to glance over my shoulder, I saw... Shiranui! When did you...
さっきからいたぜ。お前らが二人の世界を作ってたから気づかなかっただけだろ。
野暮なやつやにゃ。わかっちゅうがやったら少しは気利かしや。
そんな義理はねえだろ。俺たちはあくまでも対羅刹で共闘してるだけなんだしよ。
で、どうやったか？会津に向かう新政府軍の中に羅刹は紛れ込んじゃったか？
いや、それらしい連中の姿は見当たらなかったぜ。
Okay, so they're not heading to Aizu.
江戸湾に来てる薩長の黒船の中も調べてはみたんだがな。
そうか。あいつらどこに行ってしもうたかやろ。
What's it about a Sacho black ship docked by Edo Bay?
旧幕府軍が持ってた黒船は幕臣の榎本ってやつが北に持って行っちまったからな。薩長は奴らと戦うため新政府側に寝返った藩から黒船をかき集めてるんだとよ。
What? It wasn't the news itself that surprised me, but rather the confirmation that Edo was under total jurisdiction of the Imperial Army.
さて、そんじゃ俺はそろそろ行くからよ。あとは二人で好きなだけイチャついてくれ。
ああ。いろいろありがとう。
礼には及ばねえよ。高杉にしてやれなかったことをしてるだけだしな。
Shinsaku Takasugi, a Choshu warrior who belonged to the Imperial Nationalist Party. He was a cunning strategist and founder of the Kiheitai that helped organize the two Choshu expeditions. Shiranui lowered his head curtly and briskly left my homestead without another word. Silence fell upon us once more. The wily, eager expression on Ryoma's face had vanished. He couldn't let Hakuoki and the rest of the Furies go on living, but feasibly we had no means to locate them, let alone defeat them were we to discover their location. Meandering in this hopeless uncertainty took its toll on Ryoma, regardless of how cheerful he acted. I searched for ways that I could comfort him, pursing my lips in contemplation. Hey, Ryoma, would you be interested in seeing the ships with me?
船やと。
The ones that Shiranui mentioned? There are black ships arriving and departing from Edo Bay, aren't there? Aren't you passionate about naval ships, Ryoma? Why don't we go for a change of pace? I braced myself for disappointment, ready to hear that Ryoma wasn't in the mood to go anywhere.
俺は構わんけんど。おまん、怪我の調子は大丈夫かい？潮風は傷にようないろ。
This is nothing. I'm a demon after all. I'm sure that in a few days my injury will be all healed up.
そうか。わかった。それやったら出かけることにするかい？
I'll get dressed right away.